Some harsh new criticism of President Obama's foreign policy. Syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer says the U.S. is abandoning its traditional leadership role in the Middle East, instead operating a policy of retreat. Listen.
Everybody in the Middle East is asking, where is the United States? And all of this is the result of a policy, a deliberate policy of retreat. When America retreats, the bad guys fill the vacuum. It's exactly what's happened.
Ellen Ratner is bureau chief for Talk Radio News Service, and DeRoy Murdoch is a syndicated columnist. Both are Fox News contributors, and welcome to both of you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Let me start with you, if I can, Ellen, and ask you about those comments. We all have so much respect for Charles Krauthammer and what he had to say on this particular issue. I know you're going to disagree because you've wanted to see attention paid in certain parts of the world. South Sudan was one that I assume you'll give as an example.
Yes. Well, first of all, the president has been very active in South Sudan, sending in our troops to protect our area, but also having his representative, our ambassador at the Security Council, voting for the United Nations to send a lot more troops into South Sudan. So we have certainly not been active on that. And in terms of the Middle East, well, we have a Secretary of State who's been extremely active and engaged. Has he been to Syria and to the Mideast as much as James Baker? No, but he's early on in his tenure. So we have to see how often he goes, but he's very committed to that.
We are reporting also at FoxNews.com that Secretary of State John Kerry is planning a trip to the Middle East upcoming. So, DeRoy, let me ask you about what is the complaint then about this retreat philosophy of the president? Can you point out some examples that Charles may have been referring to?
Sure. Charles Krauthammer called it retreat. I think Obama called it leading from behind. This is an actual doctrine that he announced a couple of years ago, taking, I guess, a more modest approach, if you will, and letting other people step to the forefront. And that's really what's happened. You look at Egypt, where we've lurched from Mubarak to Morsi and now the military. You look at Syria, he said there's a bright red line. If Assad crosses it by using chemical weapons, the U.S. would respond. He used chemical weapons, and guess what? We were going to go to war right about Labor Day. Obama said he would make that decision on his own, and then he said he actually wanted Congress to get involved. So Congress thought about it for a while, and that became a bit of a morass. Unfortunately for Obama, Vladimir Putin, of all people, stepped forward as the great international dove and brought peace to the region, which was done by Putin, not by Obama. You look at Iraq, there was a status of forces agreement that was not able to be negotiated. The U.S. pulled out completely, and now you've got Christians being blown up on Christmas Day. And in Iran, we've got basically an intermission in their march towards gaining an atomic weapon. And you have Israel and Saudi Arabia both basically joining forces to denounce Obama and yell at us. So when you see Israel and Saudi Arabia ganging up in the United States, you know something's gone totally haywire.
And Alan, those are two countries that we've had relations with, and certainly our relationship with Israel, one of our greatest allies, to say the least, is so important. Look, you can't get it always right. These are complicated issues. But it doesn't seem that you can mark any of these as a success at this point, Ellen.
You can't. You know, these kinds of fights have been intractable. They've been going on for years. And, you know, as they say about Israel, is you go there for a week and you can write a book. You go there for a year and maybe you can write one piece of paper. It's very complex. The situation is very complex. Everything from water rights between the two countries, or, well, I guess Palestine is not a country at this point, but between the two areas. And then you have the situation with Iraq, which we shouldn't have been in the first place.
Can I throw in one other fact that came up when I was talking to General Keane the other day, is the money that we give to Pakistan and Egypt. Should we be giving money to countries where we can't really tell necessarily who's in charge, whether they're our friend or foe, Ellen?
You know, that is that's another very complex issue, because if you totally withdraw your support in terms of the military, then what happens? But if you continue to give it and it goes in the wrong hands, what happens? I wish I had that answer, and I don't think really any of us have that answer. It's very complex and scary.
But, DeRoy, it is the president's job. He's the guy in charge, commander-in-chief. He's got to figure these things out, keep us safe.
That is correct. I'd agree with Ellen that very often these are very complex and very difficult questions. Do you deal with the Egyptian military, which has all kinds of problems and difficulties, or do you do something to let the Muslim Brotherhood come back in, which was declared a terrorist group just a couple of days ago. Very often the choices in that area are not between good guys and bad guys, but between bad guys and worse guys. And sometimes in that case, you go with the bad guys.
It is interesting in some of these huge decisions in these other countries being made from at least what it appears without consultation with the United States. Great discussion. I appreciate both of you being here. Happy New Year.
Great. Thank you very much. Happy New Year to you.